What's up, guys? We got a great conversation for you. Today is with Polina Pompliano, and we're talking tariffs, and we get deep into the spicy details. Polina and I both, we've been talking a lot about this, and so we are understanding what's happening, why it's happening, and then I reveal something as to why I'm so confident that actually a big part of the country, they want the tariffs and they think they're going to work because I went and I did the work and no one knows it yet, but we'll talk about that later today. And so here's my latest conversation with Polina Pompliano. All right, Polina, what you got for us?
All right, let me just, before I dive into this, let me just set the scene a little bit about what my life looks like in the era of tariffs. So we're at home, nice, lovely night. And then at like 8:30 p.m., the phone starts ringing. All these people start calling you, freaking out. Tariffs. What are you saying? Why are you saying it? I disagree. And so I am having to listen to the tariff conversation all weekend. Tell us more.
Well, I think a lot of my friends are very smart. I think that they are good, well-intentioned people. And I think that they're very scared and nervous because their portfolios are going down, which is a normal human reaction, is to be nervous when something is happening that's negatively impacting you. Makes sense. But also, what you didn't say is, I've had a number of conversations with my friends who are not in New York or in San Francisco or in LA, who are not in finance or who don't run a company. And those people, they're having the exact opposite conversation, which is, I voted for this. I think this is a good idea. Finally, somebody is listening to me. Finally, I feel like there might be hope for the people in my community. And so my big takeaway from the tariffs is it's like a massive magnifying glass on America. And what it is showing is two completely different Americas. One is wealthy people who own assets who have benefited for the last 50 years on the debt-fueled growth that we've seen, on this globalization, on this pursuit of cheapest labor possible in the world. That's been amazing for a certain portion of the population. And guess what? The reason why they like that is because it benefited them, obviously. But also, there's a growing number of people who that system is not working for. These people can't afford a home. They're getting hit with high inflation. The food prices are exploding. Their dollars are being devalued 26% over the last 5 years. They are not getting raises to keep up with inflation. So their real earning growth is actually negative. There's massive problems for these people. And they happen to live outside of major cities. And so in their communities, the job prospects are much lower. And so there's this huge disconnect between these two groups. And what I keep saying to people is what you have to remember is that the tariffs and the current economic policy, they're not targeted at helping rich people. They are specifically saying, if we wanted the wealthy people to benefit, we keep doing what we were doing. Now, these policies, it's not saying we're going to abandon the wealthy people and we're only going to help the working class. What they're saying is we need to go back and get the working class and bring them along for this ride so both groups can benefit together. Nearly impossible to pull this off, but you have to do something different if you want to try it. And so I'm very supportive of the economic policies. Forget the candidate, forget the administration, the economic policies I am very supportive of because I think that one, the pain that is felt by that working class is very real. It's very misunderstood by people who I would consider in my wealthy elite circles. And I also think that those people, what the true secret is, they work harder than the people who do the white collar work. Imagine, I always say this to friends of mine who are complaining, I'm working a lot of hours, all this stuff. Like, dude, we literally sit and play on our computers all day. Yeah, you got some stress, people call you, you got to do some emails, whatever. Imagine if you had to go and work the graveyard shift at a factory or do manual labor, or in the middle of the summer, you got to go out and lay bricks or go up on a roof. Right? There are people in this economy that work their butts off, but they're not seeing the economic reward from that hard work. And part of it is they don't know that they have opportunities to go into higher earning or more skilled labor, things like that, right? Some of it is that you're somebody who's high rise in high school, you're killing the game, you think you're going to go get a good job. Oh, I had a kid when I was young, or, oh, you know what? I didn't go to college, or all these life events happen as well.
Explain to me how the tariffs would help those specific people.
There's a number of different things, and it's not black and white. And I think that's the part where there's a lot of controversy around the tariffs is the tariffs really are doing three different things. We want to raise revenue. We want to reshore and create American jobs. And then we want to get other countries to stop taking advantage of us in bilateral trade. Those three things are ultimately the objective. And the reason why it's important for us to align on those objectives is because if you do policy without an objective in mind, you don't know whether the policy was successful or not. So a tariff very clearly raises revenue. People want to access our market, they have to pay the tariff, whether it's 10%, 30%, 50%, whatever. Now, I personally think that the tariffs, as I have been saying for weeks, if not months now, should be 5 to 10% blanket tariff on all imports to the United States. And then we remove the tariffs for the products that we want to come to the United States. Use tariffs as an incentive system, not a punishment system. That's my stance. What was announced was not that. It was a further kind of aggressive stance, which was 10% on everyone in the world. Cool, we're aligned there. Then we're going to go country by country and increase the tariff. So China has 34, 54%, these huge, huge numbers.
And now this is more of a punitive tariff, but do you think it's a negotiating tactic?
So if you stay on the line of what are the objectives, right? If you simply want to raise revenue, then you can just put whatever tariff you want. You're going to raise the revenue, right? If people want to still access the market. So the whole balance would be what's the highest tariff I can place where people still want to access my market? I'm going to get that revenue. Great. The second thing though, is that you want to actually go and get these other countries to be a more fair trading partner. So for example, there's a guy on CNN. It's not Fox News. It's not some crazy, right-leaning CNN. Marlin Steel company here in the United States. They sell steel in the US, but they also go and they export steel products all around the world. The CEO is on the factory floor in a CNN interview. And what he says is, and he pulls up a basket. He goes, this is a specialty basket for medical purposes that is made with steel. We make this product. If I take this product and I send it to Germany, when that thing goes into Germany, there's $26 that they have to pay for me to bring it into Germany. If that same product is made in Germany and comes to the United States, they pay like $1.50. So that is the imbalance, is the American producer, if someone wants to buy their product in Germany, they have to pay this huge tax. But if that same product was made in Germany and wants to come to the United States, there's a lower tax. And so some people say, well, that's great for America. It is great, again, for a part of the country because they get access to cheap goods. They have money to do that. That's amazing for them. But what it does is it ultimately hurts the American producer. As the American producer gets put behind, they don't have that level playing field. Now they don't have as much revenue. They don't have as much profits. They have to fire people. You hollow out the manufacturing of America. That middle class now disappears and you ship those jobs overseas. And that's the problem.
If I remember correctly from my high school economics class, we talked about how America is like a consumerist economy, right? We're not necessarily producers as much as we used to be. Is that what we're trying to get back to? And at what period in time was America a more of a producer economy? And was it better that way than being a consumerist?
Of course. Because think of it this way. If you're hungry, right? Let's say that you want to be a boxer and nobody knows who you are. Guess what you do? You obsess over training, right? Use Conor McGregor as an example. MMA fighter, famous. On his way up, he was a plumber who quit, who lived with his girlfriend, then wife, at his parents' house. He had nothing to his name. He was hungry, wide-eyed. I got to go and I got to fight. I'm literally going to fight my way out of the position that I am in life. If I can knock people out in that octagon, then I'm going to make money. If I can make money, I can pull myself up. Guess what? He was very good at doing it. He worked his ass off. He went, he practiced, he got good at it, and he kept knocking people out. He was an entertainer. He gave the market what they wanted, which was somebody who was good and entertaining, and he was able to rise and make a lot of money. But at some point, Conor McGregor, he all of a sudden went from the from the challenger to the incumbent. And then he got kind of fat and happy. Now all of a sudden, he didn't have that hunger. Now, maybe I'll fight, maybe I won't fight. Right? I don't really need the money. I got too much money now. That's the United States. We used to be that young, hungry fighter that wanted to work really hard, that we had a challenge. We broke away from Europe. We had nothing. The government had no funding. We put tariffs in place to fund the government. All of our industries were infant. They had nothing. We're a very fragile nation. And so if we want to build ourselves up, if we want to build strength, then those tariffs protect it. It's part of protecting the country and those industries. And so as we went up through the Industrial Revolution, we won the game. America is better than anyone else at the world in this Industrial Revolution. And we built America, the greatest economy the world's ever seen. Now we're fat and happy. We're drunk on debt. And you know what? We'll go and we'll patrol the world. What we went from is a country that taxed the world to benefit the American people to now it's flipped. We have very high taxes in America. We have an exploding national debt. We ship a lot of that money all around the world. And then we provide security for people all around the world and we get nothing in return. These countries, they're not begging for money. These countries have money. These countries have resources. Think about, for example, in the Ukraine situation. Again, I don't want to see anyone die in a war, right? I've seen what that looks like. That's not good, right? It's actually one of the most barbaric things that people can go through. I think that this administration feels very similarly. But the United States is much more outsized commitments and contributions to supporting the Ukrainian people with weapons and money and all this stuff than the Europeans. Guess what happens? If Russia rolls through Ukraine, they don't come to America next, right? Why is it that the US is being asked to send all this money, all these resources there to an ally, but it is bankrupting us? And so instead, now all of a sudden you say, hey, we're happy to do this, but we need to have a more level playing field. And so that's not necessarily like true trade that we're talking about here, but it's an example of if you go around the world, Taiwan, all of the different bodies of water, if you look at certain parts of the Middle East, if you look at certain parts of Europe, if you look at Latin America, right? If you look at certain countries in Africa, we provide all this security. Those are American taxpayer dollars that are being sent around the world. And now what we're saying is you can't have us do all of that. Plus, when we send you that steel basket, you're going to charge our American producers and put them at a disadvantage in trade than the way we treat you. And so people will argue, oh, we need trade deficits to be able to ship dollars around the world. I disagree with that premise. I don't think we need those trade deficits. And so again, it goes back to this idea that we need to raise revenue. We need to reshore American jobs, which will create, or reshore American manufacturing, which will create jobs. And then we need to get a more level playing field. And other countries know it. Because now other countries are showing up to the negotiating table. The UK Prime Minister, Taiwan, Cambodia, all these guys, they're saying, we hear you. We'll drop all the tariffs. We'll drop the trade barriers. We'll invest in America and we'll buy American-made products. They know that they've been getting away with this for a long time. And so that's why I am pro-tariff policy, is because I think that we should create a more level playing field. And it's not policies that are necessarily created simply to benefit the wealthy. It is policies that are trying to bring back opportunity, hope, and some sort of financial security for people in this country. And the last thing I'll say is Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, he said a quote that it's like been haunting me. I can't stop thinking about this. He said in 2024, during the summer, there was a record number of Americans who went on vacation in Europe. At the same time, in the summer of 2024, there's a record number of Americans who were dependent on a food bank. And that's your two different Americas. And so what we have to do, people can go on vacation to Europe. I love that for them. Be successful, be happy, kill it. But let's not leave behind another portion of the country where we simply are not willing to stand up for ourselves and protect those people. And I think that's ultimately why you're seeing those phone calls at 8 p.m. from all of the people in finance. Now, I don't know how many people have called me or DM'd me on Twitter, probably hundreds at this point.
Yeah.
They're all saying a lot of the same thing. But then when I go talk to my friends from the military, I played football with, people that I know who live in these rural communities, they're all saying the exact opposite.
But do you think they 100% understand what the implications for them could be?
I think that people who are blue collar in these businesses understand how manufacturing and industrial businesses work way better than people on Wall Street.
They've seen it firsthand.
They're in it every day. If you go, here's a good example. If you look and you talk to people on Wall Street, here's a common thing you'll hear. If we put a 20% tariff on China, that means products in America are going to go up 20%. Mm-hmm. You got to be the dumbest person in the world to think that that's true, right? Because here's what actually happens. Today's episode is brought to you by Gemini.